Okay, so today in this video I'm going to talk to you about how we can use clay to have a go at making some mini models, making models of things that are made from the natural world or things that are from the natural world. Now, if you don't have any clay at home, you could maybe use some Play-Doh. Included in your pack is a recipe for Play-Doh and also a recipe for salt dough. These are nice and simple to make, and you should be able to make with things from your kitchen cupboards. Okay, remember to ask your grown-up for some help. And if the mixture is a little bit too sticky, then you might just need to add a little bit of extra flour. Okay, so I'm going to be using clay today. Now, before you start making your object, have a look for this page from your work pack. It's from the little booklet called Task 4, and it's got some different techniques to try. I'm just going to rest this on top of here. Okay, so rolling snakes with the clay. Let me move this to one side. So to roll my snake, just need to get a piece of clay. You might want to roll it onto a board or onto a kitchen table, maybe that's got a wipeable cloth, or you might just want to roll it backwards and forwards in your hand to make a snake shape. So that's one shape that I can make. Another shape that I can make is rolling a ball of clay. So similar, I'm going to do it between my hands. Instead of rolling backwards and forwards, I'm going to try and roll around and around with a circular motion. Okay, so I can have a go at rolling a ball of clay. You might need that to make some of your shapes. Then it says about creating holes or hollows. Okay, now you might need to use this. So I'm just going to roll this into a ball first of all. Now I'm going to just use this. It's like a little plastic modelling tool, but you can use a blunt knife. Okay, and you might just want to scoop out some of the dough. Okay, depending what object you're making, you might want to create a little hole, okay, in your clay. Okay, another technique that you can try is pulling and pinching the clay. Okay, so pulling or stretching and then pinching. Okay, maybe if you want to make something to look sharp or look pointed, okay, you might need to pinch the clay or pinch the dough. Okay, another technique that you can try is scratching details with tools. Okay, now if you don't have any modelling tools, you can also use things like a sharp pencil. Let me show you. Okay, so just got a sharp pencil and I'm just going to scratch. I can scratch straight lines. I can also gently scratch curved lines in my dough or my clay. Okay, so remember you can use a pencil, a sharp pencil, to help you. The next technique that you can try is smoothing out the clay. So if you've got some marks on your clay or in your dough like this, gently rub one of your fingers or your thumb over the top to smooth out those marks. Now you might need this technique, especially if you're joining parts together. Okay, let me show you. If I want to join this part of the sausage onto this part, perhaps it's a branch I'm going to join to a tree. If you smooth it, it will help it to fix a little bit better. If you just press it on without smoothing it, it will fall off much more easily. So smoothing the clay or the dough is a really important technique. Okay. Oh, and the next technique to try is squeezing the clay. Now you might need to squeeze it at the start to make it nice and supple and easy to mould and move around, but you can squeeze it quite tightly to make different shapes. And finally, adding pieces to your sculpture, so adding details. You might scratch details, but you might also add pieces. And again, you need to be careful to make sure that you join those properly and make sure they don't fall off when you move your sculpture. Okay, so let's have a look then at the things that I'm going to do today. You can already see here I've had a go at making these pine cones. Pine cones are a natural object. I found these outside in the garden. I've had a go at using my pencil to make lines to show the texture of the branch. Let me show you how I made my pine cone. The first thing I did was thought about the shape of the pine cone. Now I'm not going to make it flat because, have a look, it's a 3D shape, okay? It's not a flat shape. So I'm going to start off by making a ball. Okay, and then I'm going to think about my pine cone. It's not actually perfectly round, it's more of an oval shape, so I'm going to squash my dough to make it a little bit longer, a little bit roundy, and then I need to think about adding how I add the detail. So look really carefully and really closely. There's little holes in here, okay, and then there's lines. Okay, so I'm just going to use my pencil to make those lines. It's up to you how you do it, but just try and add in some detail to make it a closer representation of what you're modelling. Okay, you can keep going all the way around. Just check the shape. I'm trying to get that curved shape around the bottom there. Okay, so you can carry on. You could carry on all the way around to make your pine cone. And then to make the branch, I just made a really thin sausage shape. So I get a small piece of dough, rolled it back and forth in my fingers, not round and round, but back and forth. Okay, and then I joined it onto the top. Now, remember what we said about joining it. You need to try and smooth that dough, because if you don't, then it will fall off much more easily. So try and smooth it on to join it really carefully. Okay, there we go. And then you might need to go back and add in some more of the detail again if you've smoothed over it when you were joining it. Okay, so have a go at adding some detail based on looking really closely at the objects you've seen. Now, another object that I found when I went out to look for some natural objects outside was a leaf. Does anybody recognise what type of leaf this is? Yep, that's right, it's a holly leaf, and you can tell that because of the colour green. It's quite a shiny, smooth leaf on top, but around the edge it's got some spiky prickles. Okay, I'm just going to move this out of the way. We'll come back to that in a moment. Now, my leaf is quite thin, okay, so I'm just going to make this a nice flat object. First of all, what I'm going to do is squash my dough, make it nice and flat. If you've got a rolling pin, you could roll out your clay or your dough to make it nice and flat and nice and smooth. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is use a knife. Now, depending on your object, you could place it on your dough and trace around it. Okay, just be careful if you are using something like a holly leaf, because it is very sharp. I'm just going to do the basic outline, and then I'm going to shape it afterwards. Okay, so first of all, I'm making my basic outline of my leaf, and then I'm just going to scoop out some bits at the edge to make it, to represent the shape more carefully. And then I'm going to move those excess pieces out of the way. I'm just going to pick it up, make sure it's not stuck to my board. I'm going to pinch the edges to make them really sharp, just like the holly leaf, sharp and prickly. Okay, so think about how your natural objects feels. Does it feel smooth? Does it feel bumpy? See if you can recreate that texture with your dough. The next thing I'm going to do is look carefully and have a look and see what detail there is. So I can see this vein along the middle here, and then some very faint ones. So depending how hard you press, I'm going to press quite hard to make my line down the middle, but then I'm just going to press quite gently. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see those marks that I'm getting in my clay. There's some more veins on the leaf. Okay, have a little look. And then I've realised that I'm looking closely at my leaf and I forgot this part of the leaf here. So I'm just going to pinch that bit together to make the stalk of the leaf so that it represents my leaf more accurately. Move those excess pieces out of the way. Okay, then the other thing that I wanted to show you in the video today was how to make a solid base for your model. So that's where I started making a tree here. Now, because I made it a few minutes ago, it started to go a little bit dry, so I'm going to start again. But if I do a thin tree trunk like this, my tree is not going to stand up very easily. Okay, and my model might get broken. So it's important that your model, whatever you make, has a solid base if you want it to stand up. So you might need a little bit of a thicker piece of clay. Now I'm just going to press it onto the board and I'm going to start shaping it with my fingers to make it look more like a trunk. Okay. Can you see how much sturdier that base is compared to this base? This base is much less likely to fall over. Now, because it's a tree, I'm going to think really carefully about the features of a tree. Most trees aren't smooth, are they? Think about the bark on a tree. Okay, they've got marks. I might even want to do a little hole or hollow in the bottom of the tree. Perhaps it's where a mole lives or a fox lives. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then gently smooth around that hole, and then I'm going to do the lines to show the bark on the tree. Might pick it up and do it sideways so you can see. Not all of them need to be straight. And then think about the fact that the tree's roots might be at the bottom. Okay, now what part of a tree do we have next? We have the trunk, and then we have the branches. Okay, so I'm going to do some branches on my tree. Okay, and again I need to make sure that I smooth these on really carefully because otherwise they will fall off and I don't want my model to get broken. I'm going to roll a long sausage shape and then I'm going to break it into two to make two branches. Okay, now branches are all twisty, aren't they? Well, it depends on the type of tree. Maybe if you've got a photo of a tree you could represent that. Okay, and then I'm going to add some detail to my tree. What else does a tree have? Yes, that's right, tree. Most trees are starting to get their leaves again now that it's spring. So I'm going to add the detail to my leaves before I join my leaves onto the tree. So I'm just going to again do the veins and put the markings on the leaf before I join my leaf onto the branch. Okay, and I'm going to do it another leaf here. Okay, again I'm going to add the detail first using my tool. Remember, you can also use a pencil. Okay, and then I'm going to really gently squeeze that on. Remember to smooth it on so that it joins properly, and then you might just need to very gently add some of that detail again. Okay, so you see I've got a nice solid tree that's not going to fall over. You might need to be careful that you don't put too many leaves on, or you might need to make your branches a little bit stronger, otherwise the leaves will weigh it down and it will be too heavy. Okay, so I hope that you enjoy having a go at making some natural objects using some dough, either some clay or some Play-Doh or some salt dough. And I hope you manage to put some details in and make them nice and solid and sturdy so that they don't fall over.